June 15th, 1944. The sweltering jungles of Saipan. Dust rises in the midday sun as Colonel Masao Yamaguchi crouches behind a crumbling stone wall, binoculars trained on the approaching American forces. The heat is oppressive, sweat soaking the collar of his uniform, the air thick with the scent of gunpowder and smoke from distant shelling. In the distance, a line of Sherman M4 tanks trundles forward, their steel tracks grinding over uneven terrain, engines growling steadily. Yamaguchi leans closer to Major Hiroshi Tanaka beside him. They are slow, lightly armoured, easy prey, he mutters, voice laced with disbelief. Our Type 97 Chiha tanks could stop them before they even reach the ridge. Tanaka nods, squinting against the sun, as he adjusts the straps on his binoculars. Japanese artillery crews prepare their 75mm guns, calculating angles, ready to pummel the lumbering machines. They laugh nervously among themselves, confident that the Shermans are a novelty, big, slow, and insignificant. From the American side, Sergeant James "Red" Callahan crouches behind the turret of his Sherman, the jungle opening ahead in a haze of smoke and dust. He wipes sweat from his brow, checking the gauges and levers of the M4. His crew is tense but trained, eyes scanning the tree line for ambushes. "We hold together, we push through," he mutters, gripping the radio. Every American soldier knows the terrain is unforgiving. The Japanese dug in and ready, but the Sherman, bulky and loud, moves forward like a steel juggernaut, rolling over roots, rocks, and cratered earth, its 75mm main gun gleaming in the sunlight. As the first shells fall around the Sherman column, Yamaguchi's confidence wavers. One shell strikes the front of a tank, gouging a dent, but the armour holds. The tank's turret pivots, and a burst of fire rakes a Japanese pillbox, smoke and splinters exploding outward. The officers freeze, watching, disbelief painted across their faces. How can it survive that?" whispers a lieutenant behind Yamaguchi. The laughter of a few minutes ago is gone, replaced by tense murmurs and sharpened focus. The Sherman crews, meanwhile, coordinate effortlessly. Callahan calls out adjustments. "Left flank, slow, keep the line tight." His loader moves efficiently, rounds clattering into the breach. The tank presses forward, supporting infantry advancing behind it, crushing obstacles, bridging the gap between entrenched Japanese positions and the advancing Americans. Each strike seems almost invulnerable, shrugging off shells and small arms fire that would have stopped a Chiha instantly. By sunset, the first wave of Shermans has reached the Japanese defensive ridge. The officers are pale, scribbling notes, adjusting plans. "They adapt faster than we anticipated," mutters Yamaguchi, voice tight. For the first time, he senses that this is not a simple armoured engagement. This is a demonstration of industrial might, tactical ingenuity, and raw resilience. The Sherman tanks, once mocked, have revealed their true power in the dense, unforgiving jungles of the Pacific. June 16th, 1944. Saipan, northern, approaches to Mount Tapochau. The morning fog clings to the jungle canopy, heavy and damp, muffling the distant thud of artillery and the low growl of Sherman engines. Sergeant James Callahan's crew crawls through the underbrush, the tank's tracks churning mud and broken branches. The M4's 75mm gun rotates smoothly, spotting a cluster of concealed Type 97 Chiha tanks, waiting in ambush along a narrow ridge. Colonel Yamaguchi peers through binoculars, heart pounding. His men have lined the ridge with mines, bamboo stakes, and camouflaged artillery positions. The Chiha's 57mm gun is modest, yet he hopes the terrain will favour them. "Focus fire on the lead Sherman," he orders. A shell erupts from the ridge, striking the Sherman's frontal armour, splinters flying, yet the tank lurches only slightly, its crew calm under fire. The gunner, Private William "Billy" Jensen, fires back, the 75mm round tearing through a Chiha turret, sending a cascade of wood and metal into the air. Japanese infantry emerge from foxholes, rifles, and machine guns firing in all directions. The Sherman advances relentlessly, infantry following closely, using its armor as moving cover. Callahan's radio crackles as he coordinates with other tanks. Right flank clear, move up, suppress that nest. Smoke from burning Chihas and shattered bunkers drifts across the clearing. The Japanese soldiers, who had mocked the Sherman's supposed fragility just days before, scramble for cover, shouting orders and waving flags to redirect artillery fire. Major Tanaka, observing from a ridge with Yamaguchi, realizes the full scope of the threat. They can take hits. They protect their infantry. They advance under fire like nothing I've ever seen, he mutters, gripping the binoculars. The Sherman's combination of mobility, armor, and firepower has nullified the ridge's natural advantage. Mines detonate under the lead tanks, yet they push forward, the suspension and track design absorbing impacts with astonishing resilience. By mid-afternoon, several Chiha tanks lie overturned or burned, their crews evacuated or captured. The Sherman-supported infantry presses deeper, clearing bunkers and pillboxes previously thought impenetrable. Japanese artillery struggles to find targets that are not moving or shielded, every round absorbed or dodged by American tactical coordination. Callahan's tank lumbers over a shallow crater, machine gun fire strafing enemy positions, while other Shermans flank the ridge to cut off reinforcements. Yamaguchi signals retreat to prevent total annihilation, the first real signs of panic creeping into the officers' ranks. Smoke and debris cloud the valley, the stench of burnt fuel and scorched earth heavy in the air. For the first time, the Japanese command witnesses an armoured platform that combines mobility, durability, and fire support in a way their Type 97s could never achieve. Even the most experienced Chiha crews are stunned. The Sherman has rewritten the rules of armoured combat in the Pacific. By evening, Callahan and his crew pull back to a temporary staging area, guns still warm, armour scarred but intact. They have advanced further than expected, shattered entrenched positions, and proved the Sherman's value beyond theory or production numbers. Meanwhile, Yamaguchi writes hurried notes for the Imperial General Staff, the mockery and confidence of previous months replaced by reluctant respect and urgency. The Sherman has turned the tide in both tactical and psychological terms, forcing a fundamental reassessment of Japanese defensive strategies across the Pacific theatre. February 19th, 1945. Iwo Jima, the volcanic slopes of Mount Suribachi. Dawn breaks through clouds of black smoke and ash, illuminating jagged terrain scarred by months of bombardment. Sergeant James Callahan's Sherman tank rumbles forward across the ashen landscape, mud and volcanic rock crunching under its treads. The M4's turret pivots smoothly, scanning a network of concealed Japanese pillboxes, caves, and bunkers. Every crew member is alert. Infantry trails closely, using the Sherman as both shield and support as they press toward entrenched positions. From a nearby ridge, Colonel Masao Yamaguchi surveys the advancing column, a grim expression etched into his face. "They are everywhere," he mutters, gripping binoculars tightly. Japanese artillery attempts to strike, shells screaming through the air, yet the Sherman tanks absorb hits that would have destroyed their Type 97 Chihas, rolling on with unyielding momentum. Smoke curls from near-miss impacts, the smell of burning fuel mixing with the sulfur-rich volcanic air. Officers shout orders, trying to regroup their infantry and reinforce the static defences, but every advance by the Americans forces them back. Callahan calls out adjustments. "Left flank, suppress that bunker, keep moving forward." The Sherman's 75mm gun fires repeatedly, rounds crashing into fortified positions, clearing a path for infantry. Explosions send debris into the air, some raining down onto the rocky slopes, yet the tank presses onward. Private Billy Jensen leans from the hatch, machine guns spraying fire toward a hidden enemy sniper, protecting advancing soldiers. The Sherman's combined firepower and armor create a moving bastion, unmatched by anything Yamaguchi's forces can field. Japanese officers witness the unfolding reality, their prior assumptions shattered. "Our Type 97s cannot stand against this," Major Tanaka whispers, voice barely audible over the roar of engines and gunfire. The Sherman's resilience and ability to coordinate with infantry demonstrate the tactical innovation America has achieved through mass production and battlefield ingenuity. Every bunker cleared, every ridge taken, chips away at morale and reinforces the psychological edge the Americans now hold. By mid-morning, multiple pillboxes and cave entrances lie in ruins. The surviving Japanese soldiers hunkered down in scattered formations. Smoke, dust, and the cries of battle fill the air. Yamaguchi and Tanaka retreat to a concealed observation point, tallying losses and rethinking defensive strategies. They recognize that industrial might and tactical foresight, embodied in the Sherman tank, have rewritten the rules of Pacific armored warfare. The reversal of expectations, mocked machines becoming unstoppable engines of destruction, is no longer theoretical. It is tangible, devastating, and immediate. Even as the battle rages, the psychological shift is clear. Japanese commanders, once confident in their mobility and tank superiority, now confront an armored adversary that adapts, endures, and supports combined arms operations with unprecedented efficiency. Sergeant Callahan and his crew push forward toward their objectives, fully aware of the Sherman's strategic significance. It is not just a machine, but a symbol of industrial power, tactical innovation, and the relentless momentum of the American war effort. By nightfall, Iwo Jima's landscape is a patchwork of fire, ash, and smouldering fortifications. The Sherman tanks, battered but unbroken, stand as sentinels over the battlefield, having enabled infantry to secure key positions and break the stalemate of entrenched defenses. For Japanese officers like Yamaguchi, the humiliation and realization are complete. What was once ridiculed has turned the tide. The Sherman's dominance reshapes strategy, morale, and the very understanding of armored warfare in the Pacific theater. March 1st, 45. Saipan and Iwo Jima command posts. The morning sun casts long shadows across the scorched beaches and volcanic slopes, illuminating a landscape littered with wrecked fortifications and abandoned weaponry. Colonel Masao Yamaguchi sits hunched over a crude wooden table inside a camouflaged bunker, carefully sketching the positions of the Sherman tanks and the patterns of their support infantry. His face is lined with fatigue and disbelief, a mixture of frustration and reluctant respect. Major Tanaka stands beside him, quietly reviewing notes from after-action reports, the weight of repeated failures evident in his slumped shoulders. Across the Pacific, American armored divisions begin standardizing tactics that have proven successful on Saipan and Iwo Jima. Sergeant James Callahan reflects on the battles in a letter home. The Sherman is more than a tank. It is a force multiplier. Its armor may not be the heaviest, and its gun not the largest, but its resilience, speed, and ability to work in coordination with infantry make it an unstoppable engine of combined arms warfare. The lessons learned here are immediately fed into training manuals, doctrine, and production, ensuring that the Sherman continues to dominate future engagements across the islands. Japanese officers, meanwhile, convey urgent recommendations to the Imperial General Staff. They detail the failures of their Type 97 Chihas against the Sherman's 75mm rounds, noting the tank's ability to shrug off hits that would have destroyed their own armoured units. Reports stress the necessity of new defensive strategies, rethinking terrain utilisation, and the implementation of heavier anti-tank weapons, all measures that come too late to reverse the tactical advantages already exploited by American forces. Yamaguchi's words carry both humility and a bitter realism. What we underestimated has become our reckoning. The impact of the Sherman extends beyond the battlefield. American infantry morale surges as tanks crush fortifications, clear paths, and provide near impenetrable cover during assaults. Japanese troops, once confident in their fortifications and mobility, now face a demoralizing reality. Entrenched positions are no longer sanctuaries. the psychological advantage shifts decisively. Every destroyed bunker, every neutralized pillbox, reinforces the image of the Sherman as invincible, and the speed of American industrial production ensures a constant stream of these machines to replace losses. A stark contrast to Japan's constrained resources. By April 1945, the cumulative lessons of Saipan and Iwo Jima resonate throughout the Pacific theater. Sherman tanks continue to spearhead assaults, enabling the capture of critical positions with minimal delay. Japanese commanders acknowledge, in private correspondence, the need to adapt or face annihilation. The initial mockery, the derision of a slow, lightly armoured tank, has given way to strategic despair. The M4 Sherman has not only proven its worth tactically, it has symbolised the overwhelming combination of American ingenuity, production capacity, and combined arms doctrine. For both sides, the legacy is unmistakable. The Sherman redefines armoured warfare in the Pacific, a machine underestimated, then feared, ridiculed, then revered, and ultimately decisive in determining the pace and outcome of campaigns. Colonel Yamaguchi closes his notebook, a weary sigh escaping as the sounds of distant artillery echo across the island. Sergeant Callahan's crew celebrates another successful advance, unaware that the tank they operate will become an enduring symbol of industrial warfare and tactical revolution. The Sherman's presence has irrevocably changed the battlefield, reshaping strategies, morale, and the very expectations of what armoured warfare can achieve.